Good morning and welcome back to the channel, Grand Colombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live from Colombia. It's been beautiful. It's been awesome. It's been a little rainy, but it's been awesome. All right, so let's look at the peso. It's up. It's up a whole 5 pesos from last week. It's at 41.48. Hey, better than 38, right? Okay, so we got the pesos in. Temperature is about 76, 77 degrees. 76 degrees. We're going to have a high today of 79, and we're going to have a low of 64. And somebody said, how do you know what the temperature is? I'm guessing. There's no way to know. And the temperature here versus a mile from here is going to vary by 5, even 10 degrees sometimes. But here in the north, I'm about right. What rain today? I don't know. Are we in Colombia? Okay, so what else we got? I'm going to begin with some I told you so. Last week I showed you that was my ribs from that mighty fall. And that was my hip. I took that yesterday. That's my hip. That's about 2 hands. I'm feeling great. The pain went away on the bruise by Tuesday. No pain at all. But my foot was still kind of killing me. And Tuesday, I drove several hours in the car, and with the accelerator on that big toe on my right foot, by the time we got to the little town, it was already agonizing, and then came back. I should have taken one of those pain pills. But by Thursday, even that's okay. I mean, it'll throb a little bit now and then, but it's fine. I mean, it's fine. It's no worse than if I bump my toe on the wall. It's nothing. I healed really fast, and I'm very grateful for that. And I got a lot of people telling me, you got a broken toe, diagnosing me. But the thing is, how many times I told you, I'm 70 years old, right? I've lived with me all my life. And I've had all kinds of things happen, as I'm sure with you. And I kind of know myself. And I ruled out the broken toe the next day. I wasn't sure at first, but then by the next day, I was pretty sure it was just a sprain, and it's good. Still a little swollen, but it never. I mean, it's well on its way to being back to normal. But nice thing is, it doesn't hurt. So there's that. Let's see, what else we got? I did the I told you so. Mr. Carlos, I want to thank you. He took a video. I tell you guys that things like, well, let's see, I didn't show you outside. Let me show you outside. Here's outside. Now, is that fog or is that cloud? See, we live kind of up there. I mean, it's not way up there, but what are we, 5,000 feet, something like that? God, I don't even remember. But he took a picture just to kind of prove when I say that we live in the clouds. Check this out. I'm a cloud just passing through. This is pretty cool. All right, let's run through the chat and get on with it. Today, I don't have a particular topic, but I got a whole bunch of things about pretty much tied to this week. Let's see. Where? Let me, come on, cooperate. Here we go. All right, first of all, Juka, Nice contribution. Thank you very much. I don't believe he's here today. That one's larger than usual. There's a reason, but he didn't send me a note. I'm guessing he probably won't be around for a couple weeks. Mr. Rob from Fort Lauderdale, 312 days. Now, see, now that sounds better. And in a couple weeks, under 300, you know, what's it gonna be like when it gets down to like 80, 70? Man, be pretty exciting. Turtle, good morning from beautiful downtown Socorro. How are you doing? I know how he's doing. He's doing good. Sleeping through the earthquakes. Stephen Powell, good morning from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Good morning. I don't recognize the name. Are you new? I'm guessing you're new. Welcome. Michael Meyer, good morning. How are you doing? Scott Cook, good morning from Canada. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Canuck. Ben Lake, good morning. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Beautiful day. Could you be my neighbor? Mr. John Sawicki, morning all. How are you doing? Francisco, good morning. Ron to the Z, buenos dias from Circassia. Tex Blue Jeans, good morning from San Jose. How are you doing? Matsky, good morning from Washington, D.C. I was near Armenia last week. Loved the few days I stayed there. She just stopped into the coffee visit. Mr. Steve Powell, thank you very much. I just noticed that. Love the channel. Love the live show. Thank you. As do I. Love doing it. Charles. Hello from NYC. Back from Colombia, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, you can't get me to leave. Libby, good morning. How are you doing? Stephen, it's my 5th or 6th time live. Love the broadcast. Thank you. Thank you for not only a contribution, for speaking up in the chat. I really appreciate it. I've got a lot of, we get a lot of lurkers, and I really appreciate it, you know, when you jump in, just, you know, so I can acknowledge your existence. Edward Lee, morning from Cali. Good morning. Lily Wright, another new name. Good morning from LA. How are you doing? Okay. We get people, England, Australia, Finland, of course, Mr. Juka. All right, let's see. What else we got here? Robert Stewart, howdy from Austin. How are you doing? All right, I got a couple comments that I'm gonna, every once in a while I mention a comment, no particular reason, but sometimes they're interesting if you read the comments on the comment section for the whole channel that shows all the different videos. Sometimes, well, I don't want to be insulting. All right, so this comment, here we go. Armando Garcia. Lauren, you have an amazing good taste for the music you use in the videos. I just wanted to say you left me hungry for more. Is the town that small? Town is quite small. I didn't show a lot of it because it's all kind of the same thing. I've got a lot of clips. So for those that don't know, I went to Hova finally, and I did a video, and I posted it up yesterday. And it's about 5 minutes worth of clips, just showing a few key things. I probably have an hour or hour and a half worth of video clips that I took going and there and even a little returning. But I don't know. I don't know what you think about it. It's like if I'm running through a town, it can all look essentially the same. and I put clips when it doesn't. But a town, it's wherever you live, wherever you're from. There's certain areas that you go, and block after block, it's different, but it all kind of looks like the same. And I didn't really want to put 15 minutes of just the same thing. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I just kind of did the highlights, and it worked out to be about 5 minutes, but it was fascinating. I finally got there. As for the music, he was talking about that video. I put a whole bunch of video clips or music clips in there. I don't have a lot of options because you have to be really careful, or YouTube will block your block your video, will take the video down. You can get a strike. I've never had a strike, even though they demonetize me. I've never had a strike. I've never done anything wrong. And so I use music that is basically, I have permission, license to use, or permission to use, or it's just plain free. And so that's what's in that video. But I do spend a lot of time trying to pick stuff out because most of it's crap. And so every once in a while I'll find one that's like, oh, that sounds pretty good. And I'll save it and I'll stash it. I've got a big file of a whole bunch of music clips that are free to use that I pull out once in a while. Some of them you recognize that I'll do over and over and over again because I really like them. All right, next comment. John Montana. Hello there, Lauren. That's Lauren. That's a female name. That's not my name, but I'll give you a pass. It's me, John Montano. I get to watch your videos. The color is good. The audio is good. I like those stories when you said you used to take Kissinger when you were on a helicopter, I think in California. Used to take Kissinger to Tijuana. So you did that. Should tell that story anyway. I'm good. Your health is better. Still planning to go to Guayaquil, Ecuador. Well, good luck with that. Mom always told me. Well, I can't repeat what she told me, but okay. So those are a couple comments. Let's see. Edward Lee, I think the bars and restaurants must make all their money during football matches. Well, yeah, it can get kind of crazy. I like the video, shows us little towns we have not seen. Yeah, I've been trying to get there. I mentioned this last week. I've tried to get there, and I think twice, maybe more. It's the only town I haven't been to in Quindío. And I have tried, every time I would try, the road would be blocked. It can be very isolating, but I'll talk about that in a minute. What else we got? Coffee meeting. We were at Annie's again this week, and we had pretty good turnout. The most we ever had was, I believe it was 15, might have been 16, on the very first coffee meeting that back then I put together. But now Ron is doing them. I was never really supposed to do it. And this is just a video clip of Motley Crue that was there. I think one or two people had left by the time I took this. People shift around in different seats, moved around. All right, so Monday, I was asked to do a podcast, an audio, and I mentioned this last week I was going to do it. And so I went and I did it, and it was a couple hours, and it was weird because he kept asking me things that were kind of, it's like, well, start when you were born, and what about this? And so you moved here, and what happened there? And some of it was kind of personal, and maybe that was my fault. I don't know. he was really good at it. But I mentioned this to somebody just the other day. I seem to have this disease these days where if somebody asks me a question, I feel compelled to answer it. Didn't used to be like that, but I'm like that now. So he asked, I answered. And it was a little awkward. I appreciate when he edited that there were some things that he took out, because I answered, but I wouldn't necessarily want some things out there. But here's one that he left in that was a little awkward, and just a little excerpt. This was from my camera, not from the, so there's video of it. Well, let me just show you. I'm in the tow truck. Yeah, this is a brand new tow truck. And I'm thinking, holy shit. You know, because I pulled onto the street and it was going on. There was a couple cars on their side, on fire. People were smashing out windows. And a bunch of people came up and started rocking the truck. And I'm thinking, if they scratch this truck, I'm dead meat. So I reached under every vehicle had a 45 under the seat. So I reached under the seat, got the 45, loaded it up. I was ready to shoot people, but as soon as they saw the gun, they all backed away. I think that was the moment he realized he was sitting across the table from a sociopath. Yeah, anyway. You could see it on or you can hear it on Spotify. I think he cut it down to about 45 minutes, but about 10 minutes or so was an introduction of what he was doing, why he was doing it, which was quite good. I really appreciate his talent. He hasn't been doing it very long, I don't believe. I think he said 6 months, but I think he's very good at it. And, you know, I wish him the best. He's very professional about it. He's got a great voice. And anyway, if you look in the description of this video, you'll see the link. It'll say interview, and then it'll have the Spotify link if you're interested in hearing it. But I disavow anything that I may have said in there. Gil, good morning from scorching Northern California. Well, you know, it is summer. So anyway, the rest of this week, I've been because he probed into my past, which I don't sit around thinking about. And I was surprised at some of the things I was struggling to kind of remember, things in my past. And after the fact, some things were coming back to me. And all week, you know, it's like he triggered something. And all week I've been having these reminiscences in my brain. And this morning, I had the Alex playing, and it was on Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And I come out of the shower, and I heard this.
Almost cut my hair. It happened just the other day. It's getting kind of long.
And the rest of the time I was getting ready, all kinds of thoughts are going through my head. Like, it struck me. Why was that a big deal? You know, there was another song, Hair, Long, Beautiful Hair. There was all this stuff around hair, and it's like, so I'm remembering. It was like indication of your defiance against authority. And cutting your hair was like giving in. But if you had long hair, you could guarantee that if a cop saw you walking down the street, he was going to stop you and, you know, harass you and maybe check to see if you had any weed in your pocket. It was a different time then, and I'd forgotten all about that. I think now it's like I get a little shaggy around the ears. Actually, I'm getting dew. You see it's sticking out a little here. You know, kind of need to get it trimmed up a little bit. But, you know, you just, okay, I'm ready for a haircut, and you go. Okay, you see that? And I say I'm ready for it. Probably be next month. By the end of the month, I'll finally get around to it when it's shaggy. But back then, it's like, man, you don't really want to cut your hair because you want to be part of that idea of not being keen on the establishment. You got to remember, there's Vietnam and all kinds of stuff. And anyway, I'm off track. Sorry about that. But his podcast, it's his fault. Ron, Matt's podcasts are great. Listen to the one titled What People Say. It's hilarious. Yeah, I'm trying to get him to do video. I don't really listen to podcasts very much, but I did listen to a couple, obviously, before I went to do his, and I was quite impressed. And maybe I will, next time I go on a drive in the vehicle, I'll take them with me. I mean, they're good for that. And he's doing these for people in the U.S. So, I mean, I get it. Okay. Little bit of news, not much. Yeah, this is a biggie. Colombia won. It was, yeah, what can I say? I actually saw a few clips of it. It's hard not to. And they went through, I think, 40 minutes of the game, and it was still 0-0. And they ended up picking up 3 scores by the end. Now, having said that, soccer or football bores the hell out of me. I don't see any point in it. I'm an American football guy. I played for 10 years. Not in school. All we had was soccer in high school, and tennis and baseball, and we had an Olympic pool, so we had swimming, but we didn't have football. I didn't learn to appreciate football until I was in the Marine Corps. I knew very little about it. And one day I was in Okinawa, and a typhoon was coming. And so there were horrendous winds, and it was raining sideways, and it was pretty wicked. And everybody wanted to go out to this field and play football. And I kind of got dragged out there. I didn't know what I'm doing. Well, it turned out it didn't matter because nobody could move the ball. It was so much mud that you couldn't get 2 feet. So the entire game existed within a 10-foot area. It was pretty crazy. But there was something about it that I thought, well, you know, it's like hitting people. It was pretty cool. And long after I was out of the Marine Corps, and I was in this job. This was in the 80s. There was a semi-pro league that was in the area, and I was invited to come and try out or practice for it, or I don't remember the details. And I loved it. I ended up playing 10 years in that league. It was very cool. And I never had to use the ambulance on the field. It was a pretty common thing, actually. Broken ribs. It seemed like we had a lot of broken ribs. But anyway, here's another news thing. Now, I'm going to play this clip, and I'm going to explain why I'm playing this clip. Just to give you an idea of what you're going to be seeing. This was a child, I believe they said 14, 15 years old, who had a whole list of problems. She had epileptic fits. She had some kind of mental issue and learning problems, and she had some kind of twitch like this. And so there was a psychologist that would come once or twice a week to the house and work with her. The mother began to suspect something, and she had security cameras in the house. Well, she turned one of the cameras to where they would typically sit. She ended up getting 13 different videos, and here's 2 cut together. And check this out. Yeah, so why did I play this clip? It's not all that uncommon in the world, right? The reason I'm playing this clip is what happened after is so Colombian. The mother called the police. Police looked at the video. They went and arrested the woman. They took the woman to her place of work, which was an IPS, a health organization, and took her there. And she was promptly fired, but the woman in front of everybody confessed everything, was humiliated, apologized. It was all her fault. She was emotionally reacting to something bad in her life, took it out on the kid over a period of time, and begged for forgiveness. And, you know, like I said, lost her job. And that was basically the end of it. And the reason I say it's so Colombian is, well, where I'm from in the United States and other places that I've lived, the first call would be to a lawyer. And it would all be, I didn't do it. No, you're misunderstanding. No, you edited the video. No, you're taking it out of context. There would just be illegal obstacles put in the way. It would become expensive for the mother to actually pursue it. I mean, there would be a whole string of things. The hospital would deny that somebody that worked for them was doing that. And, you know, you would have this big, ugly mess with nobody speaking the truth. And you don't get that. It's not a litigious society anyway. But she didn't try to deny it. She openly admitted it. She never once denied it. She was thoroughly humiliated, lost her job, and you know, and they figured, well, the child wasn't actually hurt, and so losing her job, there's your punishment. I just thought, wouldn't it be nice if that's the way the world still operated? You know, it just seemed like the right way to go with something like that. Am I wrong? What do you think? I would like your opinion on that. You know, maybe I'm whacked, but anyway. So that was a bit of news that happened in Santander. Wasn't here in Armenia, but it could happen anywhere. Owen, I agree 100%. And who disagrees? Tell me that. I'm very curious. Let it get better. Okay. Now I'll do a couple things about the trip. I already explained. I tried to get there in the past and couldn't. And I'll give you a few things that I can comment. I made a couple notes. All right. First, these are 2 clips. I don't think they're more than, I think they're like 40 seconds or so for each one. Maybe the second one's a little bit longer, but here's the first one. Driving there. It was using the word scenic. It seems like that's not good enough. It was beyond scenic. It was breathtaking. It was gorgeous. You'll see some of it in the video. And here's the second clip, actually driving into Hova. Matt, who did the podcast, I invited him, and Rigo, somebody else I've met recently, I invited him. So it was the three of us. And it's a day trip. It's in Quindío. It's in the southern point of Quindío. And maybe an hour. I don't exactly remember. Probably an hour. The roads were pretty clear. No mudslides or anything. Well, there was one area, but there was no problem getting around. It was dry. But I think Rigo said he wanted to return for an overnight because a lot of good vibes. There was a lot of nice things. I'm going to go down a list that I made here of my impressions of the place that I didn't do in that video. First of all, based on a comment, somebody said it looks deserted. It wasn't deserted at all. It's a small town. It was a Monday. A lot of things were closed. The church was closed. I know the church inside was beautiful. It's huge. I wanted to go in and get some video of that, but it was closed. The priest was in another town, but they say it's always closed on Monday. Monday is like recover from the weekend day, apparently, which isn't unusual. Monday, very often you'll find businesses that'll be closed on Mondays. So, no, it wasn't deserted, but it's not hugely populated. It's out in the middle of nowhere. This place is pretty isolated. Like I said, I've tried to go there when there'd be mudslides. It might be a week or two before anybody can get in because it's not like there's a whole bunch of roads going there. First thing I noticed when I got out, I was walking around, I saw some people, needed the bathroom bad. So I'm walking by these people, but first thing I noticed was no tattoos. Now, I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's going on in the US because I haven't been there in a decade. But here, tattoos, it's exploded. Particularly females. I'm almost exclusively females. There are tattoos from here down on every square inch. Some amateurish, some nice, but all jumbled up with all kinds of. I don't like tattoos. I went through the Marine Corps without a tattoo, where everybody goes out, gets drunk, get a tattoo. Not me. Not a fan of them. Never wanted to have identifying marks, first of all. but honestly, I don't like them. And whether it's here or Bucaramanga or Pereira, wherever it is, it's tattoos everywhere. To me, they're ugly. Now, I know it's a matter of taste, and some of you probably love them. I know there's probably a fair amount of you that have tattoos. You know, it's just for me, bleh, don't like them. It's not that I hate on people that have them. I don't like them. But I went there, and it was just, I must be surrounded in tattoos because it was the first thing that I noticed. I mean, it's like, wow, there's no tattoos. Anybody? No, nobody's got tattoos. So that was pretty awesome. Again, it might show how isolated it is. I don't think they got the memo that it's a thing right now. Maybe in 10 years they'll know. Okay, next thing I noticed. Extremely friendly. Now, one of the reasons I love Armenia is how everybody is. It's like family. They treat you like they already know you. You don't find that everywhere. As a matter of fact, you don't find it much of anywhere to the extent that it is here. But in Hova, it's alive and well. It was fun, and it was fun because of the interactions. I mean, we're having a well, Rigo was talking to this woman, and I'm making some snide I don't remember how it went. Some snide comment about how, you know, he was trying to pick her up or something like that, and you know, she said he's married, and he made it. We're joking, you know. It's like, well, you know, you can sneak out, and it was all in fun. It was, and people. She was laughing. There was another girl there. She's laughing. We're laughing. It was like we knew them. You know, it wasn't like it was something, you know, out of line, or it's hard to describe, but there's being friendly, being polite, being friendly, and then there's being friendly in that you walk into Cheers, hey Norm, you know, that kind. And we walked into Hova, and we got the hey Norm treatment. It was very cool. Oh, and what do you say here? I remember when you only saw tattoos on servicemen, convicts, and circus freaks. Exactly. Abel from Manizales. How you doing? Thank you. The update and information. Have a great something. Great thumbs up. Thank you. Appreciate the comment. Let's see. Okay, what else we got here? The cars. Nowhere near the amount of cars that you would see like here in Armenia or anywhere else around, anywhere else in Colombia. There's a lot of cars, and they're growing to the point where there's traffic jams pretty much everywhere you go on certain times of the day. Armenia is getting drowned in cars. It kind of sucks. But not only did I not see that many cars, we saw a fair amount of Jeeps, and those are working Jeeps. Those aren't tourist Jeeps. Saw a fair amount of cars, but they were mostly older cars. Like in Armenia, it seems like almost every car is new or almost new. You know, so you laugh. Well, everybody's poor. Well, then what is it? These tens of thousands of people that are so poor that are driving a new car that I can't afford. But anyway, so I noticed the old cars, and I noticed the Jeep, the working Jeeps. It's a big coffee area. Horses on the street. In the video, I captured one that was doing the dancing, prancing thing, because that's the way they do horses here. It's not for show. It's the way they ride them. They're not just walking along, but they got the high stepping, you know, prancing. So it's a conservative, traditional place, very much like the Colombia that I used to know. And so that was very cool. I mentioned isolated coffee. It's known as, okay, Quindío has some of the best coffee in the world, and Hova has some of the best coffee in Condillo. That was another reason I've always wanted to get down there. Well, I managed to buy this one. This one. Oh my God. It smells so good. I opened it. I had it. This is from the farm of Fernando Ortiz. Medium roast, washed. And this is a geisha. It's a geisha bean. Now, I don't know if you know about coffee beans, but last August, the most expensive coffee ever sold was last August at auction, geisha, and it went for, kilo. By the pound, it went for $4,588 for a pound of geisha coffee. $4,600. 10 years ago, it made a record at $770 for a pound. 10 years ago. In Japan, a cup of geisha coffee is $120, and in Dubai, it's $200 US. It's sweeter. One of the reasons it's so expensive, outside of the fact that it's absolutely delicious, it's very exclusive where it can grow. Coffee can grow in a wide range of altitude and various conditions, but geisha not so much. It's only a slice of that, and it also takes forever for it to grow. It doesn't yield anywhere near as much as typical coffee. It is an Arabica, but it can take up to 3 times as long to mature enough to make the coffee, and there's less of it. So there's a scarcity of geisha. It takes a lot more work than just regular coffee, and so of course I'm going to get it when I'm there. It's not the only place to get it. I bought it here also, so it's interesting comparison. Which leads me to something I'm putting together. I talked about this before, but I'm actually getting ready to do it. I may even do it this next week. So I want everybody to listen up here. I want to do a coffee cupping, and that's like it's, if you don't know, it's basically just hot water and coffee grounds, and you have to kind of spoon through them. It's done a certain way, and it'll be a blind test of one type of coffee. This will be one, another type, 3 or 4 different ones. Now, what's interesting is you could taste the coffee and maybe not quite see what's so great about. I mean, it's good, but maybe you can't pinpoint it because you're not that familiar. But you can try one, and then you can try another one. When you're comparing it against another coffee or 2 or 3, all of a sudden, a lot of the things that people talk about coffee, it's sweetness or bitterness and all the different things like that. Is it fruity? Is it like caramel or chocolate notes? And it's far more easily understood in that kind of situation. I want to do it. I want to do that in the next week or 2, and I want to video it. I want to make it an actual video. It'll be for the coffee channel. So anybody interested and willing to be on video that wants to do that, please let me know. I'm looking for 2, possibly 3 people to be part of this. I'm arranging now. I've got to get the cup. Well, I'm putting it together, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to video it, and I would love some volunteers that are willing to do it. I think you will enjoy it. Rob, I just looked. The population of Hova, 7,700 people. Yeah, that sounds about right. Actually, I probably would have guessed about 4,000 just based on the size. And when I lived in Ecuador and Giron, is similar sized town, that only had 2,000 people living in it, but you know, it's Ecuador. So let's see, Abel. I'm so glad you're in Colombia. Gracias. I love your videos. Thank you. My son loves Colombian coffee. Semper Fi. How can you not love Colombian coffee? You know, I always said you can't get a bad cup of coffee here, but last week I confessed, but that coffee came out of Brazil. So, but coffee meet this Wednesday, 11 at Sublime. The post with directions is on the Grand Colombian Expats of Armenia Facebook pages. Yeah, Adventures in Grand Colombia Facebook page. Yeah, I was actually going to mention that Sublime, it's a new place. I've never been there. Looks amazing. Looks like somebody put a ton of money into that place. Yeah, it looks like an expensive place as far as, you know, tall ceilings and beautiful furniture and this wraparound bar, and it's more than a coffee shop. They sell pizzas, but they sell actual food, and there's drinks, and there's all kinds of stuff that goes on. So it'll be interesting. 2 doors down from my building, there's a little restaurant called Sublime. And then there's that, Sublime. And it's interesting. The woman that owns the restaurant near me, it was fascinating and kind of heart-wrenching how they have that name Sublime. It's an English word, and it's not Spanish. But she changed her mind, didn't want to go on camera. That's too bad, but I run into that all the time. But it would be interesting to know how they got the name Sublime at this coffee place we're going to, because it's an unusual name for here. So there's that. Let's see. His dudeness abides. I think it's pronounced Hova. No, yeah, I know. And you're right. It's actually a V, but they do pronounce, some people pronounce a V as a B. So that would be completely correct. And if you said Hova, that would be correct also. Owen, do you know if the difficulty in growing geisha coffee is because it's limited to specific altitude soil, or is the actual cultivation of the plant up? It's both. And it's more. It's more than that. It's specific type of rainfall, specific temperature range. That's what makes it. There's only I think I read this. I'll probably get it wrong. Less than half a dozen places in the world where this actually grows well. Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Ethiopia, and I don't remember, there's 1 or 2 more. In the sense that it grows to that kind of quality. I mean, you could try to grow geisha beans anywhere, but to have it to be the good quality stuff, even here in Colombia, it's not going to grow everywhere. But it is a common, well, somewhat common and popular coffee here in Quindío. Not necessarily in the stores, but there's a number of farms that grow their normal, like this one. This is from the same farm. And you see this is the Típica bean, medium roast, washed, Mr. Fernando Ortiz. So I got one of these. But he also grows the geisha as a separate crop. Vietnam, no. Vietnam is mostly Robusto. It's not Arabica, although there is some. But it's actually very limited, which is why it's mostly Robusto. Brazil grows a lot of Robusto because so much of the land that they have, it's only good for that. Robusto actually thrives in lowland, tropical heat, things like that. Arabica does not at all. It needs some altitude and cooler temperature. Now there is Arabica in Brazil, and I'm pretty sure that there is some in Vietnam, but their focus is so much on Robusto. That's why I think I mentioned this last week. If you've ever had, people will say Vietnam coffee, like it's a special thing. Well, it is. I hate it. They say, well, it's strong, it's thick, it's bitter. Yeah, because it's Robusto. I don't like that's exactly the kind of coffee I don't like. It just doesn't have, it's a one note, heavy, bitter. I don't like it. Coffees like this, or actually pretty much any coffee that I buy around here, it's coffee. I mean, the overriding taste obviously is coffee, but within that, there's these differences, there's variances. You can drink one to the next, and one's lighter and sweeter. Another one will be more, when they say chocolate or caramel, I mean, I get that. You can taste those, especially if you compare one to the next. Yeah, and Vietnam is not one of those countries. Okay, what else we got? I think that's it. That's all I got. Any questions, comments? I don't hear anybody breaking down the door to volunteer to be in the coffee tasting. And I know there's a bunch of you that are here. Owen, when I was into wine, there were some desirable and expensive wines due to the microclimate the grapes were grown in. Yeah, I love wine. I was very much into wine for a lot of years. I still love wine. And when I traveled, I especially loved red wines like Beaujolais. When I went to France, that was one of the treats. Was to be able to have different wines in France. There's a reason France is known for wine. But on the other hand, California, man, there's some wines from California that just knock your socks off. And Chile and Argentina, these are great wine producing. Even Portugal, Italy, lesser so for my taste, but some great wines come out of there. And they're different types of wine, but in Spain, there's some really good wines. And for me, picking up on the differences of wine, it seems to be, for me, it was so much easier. It seemed obvious to me. I mean, one of my early jobs, I wasn't even 18. I was a banquet manager at a resort. Well, they call it Four Seasons, but it was a Sheraton. And it's a long story, but I was a banquet manager for a while, and wines was a big thing. This was a resort place, and we actually had this big room with huge selection of different wines, and I would get to try a lot of different wines, and it just seemed obvious to me. When you talk about the citrus notes and all these things, it's like, yeah, it seemed obvious. Coffee, it seems so much more complicated to me, which makes it fascinating in that you have all of those things, but in such a mix that it takes the whole flavor of the coffee in a different direction, but you don't quite understand how it got there. But it's very different from this one. Well, we're not here for that. One day when I get my coffee thing going, oh, yeah, I'll give you an update on that. It appears that she's got a way out and may be here within the next couple of weeks. So that'll be awesome. And then I can go full bore and get everything going. I guess I'm not cultivated. Juan Valdez and half water is my drink in Colombia and the USA. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Juan Valdez is a great coffee. you know, I'm talking about these nuances just because, you know, I'm here and I drink different coffees from different places, and it's become a curiosity because you try one and you go, man, that's awesome. Then you try another one. It's like, yeah, that's awesome, but it's different. How is it, you know, they're both coffees, they're both delicious, but they're both different. And it just kind of piqued my curiosity. And I've been kind of going down the rabbit hole a little bit on this stuff because I find it fascinating. But, you know, I say it over and over again. They're all great. You can't get bad coffee in Colombia unless you get their commercial brand, like, what is it, Rojo or something like that. Comes in a red bag, so it's something like that. It's, you know, it's kind of truck stop coffee. Instant. Well, 20 years ago, 22 years ago, whenever, I was all excited. I'm going to have some real Colombian coffee. And they made me real Colombian coffee. It was a big pot on the stove like this, and they put a whole bunch of milk in it and heated it up. And they put a whole bunch of panela, raw cane sugar, in it. And then they took spoons of instant coffee and put that in it, stirred it up, and poured it out. And it's like, this is Colombia. But that was back in the day when coffees like this would all be exported. You couldn't buy this. Now, you know, you still hear that. You still hear people, even especially Colombians, say, well, you can't really get the good coffee here because it's all exported. That's a 10-year-old story. That's not true anymore. The best coffees in the world are here, and you can't get them anywhere else. And there's reasons for it. So, you know, they're small batch, things like that. Most of Colombian coffee is commercial coffee. But in a place like Quindío, these are small family farms. These are not commercial operations. Like this guy, you know, his farm is Francisco Ortez. It's just a family coffee farm that's been generation after generation. And he grows these things because that's what he does. It's what his family does. And he loves it. And he knows it personally. And they go out and they pick these things by hand. And it takes about 2 months to harvest the coffee here because they don't all ripen at the same time. So they go out, they pick the red cherries, and then maybe they'll go out a few days later and they'll pick some more and pick some more. That takes place over 2 months. You know, now you go to the commercial coffee, like in Caldas or most of Colombia, they have these machines that come along and they shake them all, and there's green and ripe, and it's all kind of mixed in together. There's a lot less care. It's a commercial operation. It's still great coffee, but it's a world of difference from this stuff than that stuff. I like Juan Valdez. It's good coffee, but it's a commercial coffee. And if you drink this next to Juan Valdez, if I ever have my choice, I'll choose this over Juan Valdez any day of the week. Doesn't mean Juan Valdez isn't good. I'm not sure what to compare that with, but that's my view of it. That's how I see it. Okay. I'm getting all preachy. People are checking out because I don't have anything else to say. Any other questions before we go? Anything else that we need to cover that won't wait until next week? Going. I've got about a 15-second lag here. Okay, so Steve Powell, thank you for the contribution. After this week, I could use it. Juka, I'm sorry you couldn't make it today, but I appreciate what you did yesterday. I thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the new people that spoke up in chat. I certainly appreciate that. And there's one thing I was expecting to see, but I didn't. Ron, thank you for all you do for us. It's my pleasure. It's my hobby. what would I do? You know, you can't just sit back and die. Well, you could, you know, I thought about that. If I was the kind of person that all I want to do is sit in the chair, watch TV, hardly ever go out, you know, and just kind of lived out the rest of my life like that, couldn't be a better place. But it would be a damn shame. But it couldn't be a better place. Charles, yes, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. But the thank you goes to you guys. All right. Well, since you didn't do it, I'm going to play our way out. I will see you next week. Please, 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 I need some volunteers for this coffee tasting. If I'm able to make it to the coffee meeting, I suppose I could mention it there. Maybe it probably will be a smaller meeting. That's what happens when we make a change, and then it'll build back up again. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But let's let me play our way out. See you next week.
Por todita la ciudad y camina de lado. Vamos que me cachondea.
Yeah.